Good morning. Welcome to this gathering for the second Sunday in August 2022. August, in the midst of August, in the middle of summer. We're still saying middle of summer, even though maybe not, but we are glad to be together as community. And those of us gathered in this room, welcome. We are community with each other, as well as those gathering online. Welcome to you as well. We are engaging in a new Sunday series, starting today for the next 4 weeks. A little glimpse into perhaps as if you needed more of a glimpse, but a glimpse into my interests and passions, things that we have discovered as a species in the last little while. What are those discoveries that have meaning to us in how we live the best lives that we can? And, other nerdy stuff like that. So we engage on a series called Nerd Wisdom, and we will all be nerds together. We will engage in exploration of some science, but also some science fiction and some fantasy and all kinds of intellectual pursuits that will bring wisdom to us, hopefully in a new way. So welcome to you all. So glad that we can be together on this morning. Of course, as we gather, we know that we're gathering on Treaty 6 territory, and we honor that land and that history and Indigenous culture and spirituality when we gather and meet here. And it's part of our reconciliation journey that we acknowledge it, not just in words, but in our actions and in our friendships, in our connections, and in all the things that we do and work to build that reconciling spirit. We are not only gathered on a place of cherished land, but we are also gathered on a place of cherished camp land today. SSUC Grounds is host to Camp Dragonfly this weekend, and all day yesterday, kids were gathered and having fun out on our lawn and doing wonderful things, Camp Dragonfly being our camp for trans and gender creative children. And the demand for that camp has just grown each and every year to the place now where I think the number was 67 children this weekend doing that, bigger than any year in the past. And so we're grateful to Allison and to Zoe and all the leaders of that camp and the kids who are having a wonderful time and who are out exploring the ravine this morning. As we celebrate all the things that are happening here in this place and wherever we are, we light this candle, remembering that this is a candle of community. Wherever we are, whether we're part of our Sunday morning in-person community or online, whether we're part of a Camp Dragonfly community, whether we're near or far, we are connected. We are one. And that's really important to all of us, that connection. Sometimes face-to-face, sometimes we've never met them. But we're connected by this spiritual community. And by more than that, right? By our humanity. By our drive to live in the best ways that we can live with wisdom that we take each day. And so we light this candle in honor of this community near and far and the oneness we hold. Zoe brings to us a message this morning by video. Zoe's a little bit busy with Camp Dragonfly, but they wanted to be a part of our gathering, as has been our custom. Every couple of weeks we hear from Zoe or Allison in a wild sanctuary moment. And on this weekend of Camp Dragonfly, Zoe comes to us with a moment to breathe into the moment, to center ourselves. Here's Zoe.
Good morning, everyone. Allison and I are away at Camp Dragonfly today, and so we wanted to leave this little message with you. We've had such a great weekend being with all these kiddos. If you're so quiet, I'm sure you can hear little echoes of us playing outside on the lawn at SSUC and having experiences of being really dropped in, really centered, really celebrating what it is to be in our own bodies and to be celebrated. And so today we want to encourage and offer everyone a moment to be in that space. So you can start to be conscious to your breathing, noticing what it's like to bring air into your body, and what it's like to exhale back into the world. Sometimes an easier way to access being embodied, to being centered, is to think about another being, another animal, another critter, another creature, and really bringing their experience, their pace, their movement, their way of being into our own bodies. So if it's right for you, you can close your eyes and start to think about an animal or another living being that you really resonate with. You might be a bumblebee, you might be a dolphin, you might be a turtle or a squirrel. I'm inviting you now to think about how would you move if you were that animal or that being? What would your daily pace and routine be like? How would you play? How would you walk? How would you eat and sleep? How would you communicate with your friends and your loved ones? And so after church today, when you leave this building or when you turn off your computer, I invite you to go outside and really drop into this way of being, like this other creature, and see what happens to how you move, see what happens in your body. What do you notice about just being?
Our Time for All Ages story this morning is an old Hasidic story. And I want to tell it to you because in many ways, it is the story of all of us. It's called Where the Treasure's Hidden. There was once a poor man who lived in the city of Prague, and one night he dreamt that he should journey all the way to Vienna. There at the base of the bridge leading to the king's palace, he would find buried treasure. Well, that's not a dream that you just ignore, thought the man. So, it wasn't until he had the dream again, and then again, that he wasn't able to stand it anymore, and he left his home, he left his family, and traveled to Vienna. The bridge, however, that was in his dream was heavily guarded in reality. The watchful eyes of the king's soldiers afforded little opportunity to dig for treasure. So every day the poor man spent hours pacing back and forth across the bridge, waiting for his chance. 2 weeks went by. And finally, one of the guards grabbed him by the shirt, demanded, "What are you plotting? What are you doing here? Why are you pacing across the bridge every day?" He was frustrated. He was anxious. He blurted out the story of the dream. He just was completely honest. And when he had finished, the soldier, who had been biting his lip while listening, broke into uncontrollable laughter. He stopped laughing long enough to say, "What a foolish man you are, believing in dreams. Why, if I let my life be guided by that silliness, I would well be on my way to the city of Prague. For just last night I dreamt that a poor man in that city has buried in his cellar a treasure which awaits discovery." The man was released, and before he could say any more, he was escorted out of the city. And so the poor man returned home, and he dug in his cellar, and he found the fortune. And alas, the treasure was always in his possession. Yet he had to travel a long and difficult journey to know of its existence. Like with all stories, I like to just have a little conversation afterward. It's easy for all of us, I think, to focus, sometimes even obsess, over things like what we don't have. It's really easy to think about and call to mind all the things that we aren't. Isn't it better, upon hearing a story like this, to think about the things that we do have and the people we are? They're all treasures, and it takes a while to discover them at times. So I just want to move right into that story, into this first reflection in our series. I've called it the hero journey, and I think you can tell almost in that old Hasidic story the importance of the journey for that poor man to find the treasure that was in his cellar all along. I want to tell you about a little bit about my childhood. I was, a child of the 70s and 80s. And so in terms of pop culture, Star Wars was right up there with what was going on in my life as a child. Pretty formative piece. Maybe that's what led to my whole life as a sci-fi nerd. I don't know. But I could elaborate on the Star Wars lunch kit that I had. It was one of those, rectangular boxes where you open it up and the thermos is in the lid, and it had the picture on the front of, it was Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader on the front of that lunchbox. I could talk to you about my Return of the Jedi bed sheets that it was hard for my mom to take off and wash because I didn't want any other sheets on my bed. I can talk to you about the action figures lined up on my dresser or my R2-D2 garbage can. And just when I was kind of reaching the age where I thought, well, maybe, maybe that's behind me. Maybe that was a thing of, childhood, and I was in, adolescence. I was maybe not even a teenager yet, I don't know. And that's when the Next Generation, that Star Trek, got hold of me. It was, I think, the mystery of exploration. It was space. It was new worlds. It was the mix of wonder and hope and this world that just kind of worked. It was the possibility of technology and discovery. It was all those things, and it was just the storytelling, the sci-fi kind of storytelling of it all that interested me. Maybe, am I justifying this series? I don't know why I'm telling you that. I'm just telling you that I come by this honestly. And so when I hear news, even now, 30, 40 years later, when I hear news of NASA's James Webb Telescope and the images that come back from that, I just get excited. I'm like, holy mackerel, look at this. When a new Star Wars or Star Trek movie it comes out, I get just as excited, to be honest with you. When new research is discovered, like in the last month or two, into depression and serotonin levels, and is the connection as strong and fast as we thought it was? And new studies are saying, well, maybe, who knows? Maybe not. The advancement from the COVID pandemic in terms of vaccine technology alone. I mean, all of these kinds of science and science-adjacent discoveries are amazing to me, and they're amazing to many of you as well, I know. Science and the world of sci-fi and fantasy inspire us to look deeper to new discoveries, both in the world, but really what they're also doing is it's causing us to look deeper at ourselves, isn't it? So this series then is a chance for us to look at the wisdom we might learn from some scientific discovery, wisdom we might learn from science fiction, from a whole array of pursuits, but not just as a means to say, oh, isn't that interesting? But as a means to look inside of ourselves as well and to say, what new are we discovering there? What are we learning? So as we start this geeky journey together, there's no better way to start than from where I said that I started as a child, and that is with Luke Skywalker. If you don't know Star Wars, I can't wrap my head around that, but if you don't know Star Wars, then let me just tell you, Luke Skywalker is the main protagonist that we meet in the very first Star Wars film from 1977, which ironically is entitled Episode 4. Don't get me started. It's titled Episode 4, A New Hope. We meet Luke as a whiny teenager, pretty whiny, who is stuck on his uncle and aunt's farm in the middle of nowhere on a planet of Tatooine, which is just all sand and desert. So he really is in the middle of nowhere with dreams of a better life, but he's there on a moisture farm with his uncle and aunt. Luke ends up being thrown into a drama, because there wouldn't be a movie without one, right? Thanks to a little robot named R2-D2, the little blue and white round garbage can-looking creature. Droid, not creature. And the message that this droid has is for an old Jedi master in hiding on the same planet. And we later learn that he's Obi-Wan Kenobi and he's a Jedi Master. And anyway, the story goes on. The story goes on in which Obi-Wan kind of teaches Luke the ways of the Force and how to be a Jedi and yield a lightsaber and the stuff of every boy's imagination. The point is, Luke is an ordinary boy with a lineage he doesn't know anything about. He has a lineage, doesn't matter now, but he doesn't know anything about it. He just thinks he's an ordinary boy on this desolate planet going nowhere. And obviously, some innate hidden talent rests within him to be something he never dreamed of, a Jedi Knight. Now, how about another set of books and movies? I'm just going to rattle through a bunch of them because you may know this one. If you don't know the movies, then maybe you know the books, the Chronicles of Narnia series. 4 siblings, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. They wander through the back of a wardrobe in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And they don't find the back of the wardrobe. They open it and they find a whole new realm. An enchanted realm in which they are royalty. And their adventures bring out their latent gifts, the gifts that they didn't know they had within them as children, but as growing humans in the world. How about another one? Do you know Harry Potter? Well, Harry Potter's an ordinary 11-year-old who is stuck being raised by his bully aunt and uncle. Boy, is this a theme or what? Look out, aunt and uncles. And on his 11th birthday, he's visited by a half-giant who tells him his lineage he didn't know anything about. Oh, another one. That he's a wizard and is enrolled at a school to teach him how to use the magic that's been in him all along. Sound familiar? Or better yet, his friend who he'll meet at school, Hermione Granger, the girl with no magical background at all, no hidden past, no lineage whatsoever, who through her incredible intelligence and talent grows into the brightest witch of her age with immense power. One more. This is not modern fantasy and sci-fi. This is a bit more ancient, the ancient hero story of King David. I'm throwing him in with all these others, because why not? It's an ancient myth, after all. It's just a little fantasy to learn from. So this time, it's the king and future uniter of kingdoms of Israel and Judah, David, who becomes a flawed hero, but starts out like so many others, just an ordinary kid working on his father's farm. So as the story goes, when it became clear that Saul, who was the king, was not fit to be the king any longer, Samuel was the prophet of Israel. He called Jesse and his 12 sons together because it was said that the next king would be among them as part of this family. So he calls Jesse and he says, line up all your sons. And so he does. And Samuel inspects them one by one because he thinks, surely if the next king was among Jesse's boys, then it would be, well, maybe the handsome soldier, or maybe the burly hunter, or the strongest, oldest one. And one by one, Samuel rejects them. He says, no, not this one, not this one. And then next, and next, until there were no more in the line. And he asked the father if this was it. Is this all your sons? Aren't there any more? And Jesse replied, well, that's all, but, except David. Oh, the kid, the youngest, the smallest, who's out in the field tending all the sheep, didn't bring him here, didn't think he would even be a possibility. So even his father didn't think much of the youngest David. But Samuel said, "Call him here." Because an insight that Samuel had been having while he was rejecting all these brothers was that perhaps his eyes were betraying him. Perhaps he was thinking about or tempted to choose based on appearance, but he was looking for something deeper. So immediately David comes in from the field, and the boy comes running, and immediately upon seeing him and being in his presence, Samuel anointed him as the one, as the future king. He's not the tallest, not the handsomest, not the strongest son, but he is the one, Samuel says, who has the heart for the job. Joseph Campbell, I'm sure, would remind us that the hero has 1,000 faces, and that we are the protagonist in our own hero's journey. These stories are so similar. These myths are so often a theme and variations because they are pointing to something crucial. They're pointing to the same thing as the Hasidic story of the poor man in Prague. They are pointing to the fact that the treasure always lies within us, and unexpectedly so. Yours, my ordinary life, the life we're just so used to because every day we know what our life is, we go about it. But all of those ordinary lives of yours and mine is the starting place for the adventure of discovery and wisdom. The great wonder of the hero story is that they are us. In all these movies, in all the books, the hero is always us. Nothing has really changed except the way we see ourselves. Nothing has changed for any of those heroes except what they catch a glimpse of in themselves to think about what is possible. And discovery is like that. Discovery is like that. We've learned that. No longer are the days when we thought in the world that when something was discovered, it was like it just appeared. We have discovered it. That, we know, is false, wrong, and harmful. When we discover something, it was always there. We have just learned about it. What has been discovered? Something in us. We have learned something. We have grown. If only our ancestors in this country and many knew that when they arrived on this land. It's us that change in the process of discovering something new or someone new. And is this not the purpose of any piece of wisdom or in any tradition, ours included, to alter our perception? Is the treasure not always in our possession, yet we have to travel far and wide to know of its existence? So discoveries help us recognize the vast shifts in perception that we're asked to make every day. And we're going to keep exploring that over the next few weeks. But in this week, when we're talking about ourselves as the hero of our own stories, think about it this way, that discoveries are always asking us to shift our perception. Hearing a friend tell a story about their day alters our perception. So let's open ourselves to it and not put up the wall. Meeting a new person and learning something from them alters our perception. So let's be open to meeting that new person and not closing ourselves off to it. Experiencing both great joy and the deepest sorrow is a discovery that alters our perception. So let's not judge, this is good and this is bad. This is an experience I want and this is one I want to avoid. Because for better or for worse, they are discoveries that will alter our perception and lead us into wisdom. So maybe our days are boring on a desolate sand planet in the middle of nowhere, or your equivalent, of course. Or maybe, with an open mind and heart, they're merely an adventure waiting to happen, waiting to alter the way we see ourselves and the world. So the question is, what today inspires in us to see an expanding possibility? Not all at once even, but step by step, a gradual evolving and unclouding. Who will help you in seeing yourself as the hero of your own day? Even better, who will you help today to see that they are the hero of their day? That they have the latent gifts and strength in them to persevere. What will be our inspiration to recognize that we, the ordinary, just plain old me person, that we have the power to make a difference in this world. One step, one word, one kindness, one step at a time on our hero's journey. So may it be so, in many different ways. This is a song that is not new. You can see it occurred to me in 2017, and maybe it's just taken this long to make its way to us. I remember singing it with the Ever Wonder group in 2019, but never here among us on a Sunday. And maybe because it's a bit tricky, I think our two singers will recognize that, but they're going to help us with it. So this song is entitled Wonder, and I would like us to hear them sing it through once, and then we'll join them.
Questions guide our way, when pondering what wisdom will best help us through the day. The reverence of our living holds our wonder, our kindness, love, and just held peace. We hold the world's diverse and fragile splendor, wondering what our role will be. When wonder meets
The good news about learning that song is you get 3 more cracks at it through this series. Come back next week. That'll help to put music up. Thank you, Bonnie. Some invitations for you about things that are coming up and what we have to look forward to. For those of you online or who can be online in the next little while, we have our post-gatherings reflection group meeting on Zoom. It happens around 11:15 Mountain Time, and so please find the link at the website or in your e-messenger and join a group to talk about today's theme and share with each other and just be involved in one another's lives. If you're not able to be present in the room, it's helpful to have face-to-face contact. This is a quick appeal for a fast and helpful thing that we can do. Many inner city families can manage school supplies just fine, but when it comes to backpacks and some of those pricier items, it's a real struggle. Backpacks are not cheap. I don't know if you've looked lately, but it's not easy for families, especially if there's more than one child and they're growing. And so through Bissell Center Family Services, we're able to help with just whatever we can put together. If you are out shopping and see a backpack you want to buy and donate, that would be lovely. If it would be easier for you to throw us just a few bucks to go and buy some backpacks with your donations, we can do it that way, and we'll gather a few school supplies as well. Some of the more pricier things like markers and things like that, and put them in the backpacks, and Bissell will distribute them in these weeks before school, and sometimes even after school is started, because some of those kids come to school without a backpack. So this is a wonderful, quick way to help with something that's needed in our city. And if we do that by next Sunday at about noon, then our Young Families group is going to meet, assemble them, put them together, shop if we need to shop for some, and they'll be ready for Bissell. So if you can help in any way, that's fantastic. Here's another way that folks can help. We are putting together just a little bit of a thinking group that will meet for perhaps 1 or 2 times in August and September. Our fundraising efforts over the past years have been amazing and fantastic, and it's now time to think, what can we do again? What can we repeat? What can we do that's new? And we just need some creative minds to think about some possibilities there. They might be old ideas, they might be brand new ones, they might be a whole new way that we have never thought of raising funds for our congregation before. So if that's something that appeals to you, either in this room or online, please let us know. We'd love to just put a small group together. Again, a short-term commitment, 1 or 2 meetings, and we'll have it together, which we could do online and in person. If you'd like to join us from wherever you're at. Even though we love the fundraisers because they tie us together as community, we have a lot of fun. We also know that the large majority of what keeps SSUC going is just your regular generosity and your regular donations. And so we thank you for those. We thank you for every time you put an envelope in the back box, or you donate online, or you come into the office, or all of the ways that or you buy a grocery card. All of those ways that you donate to us, we are so grateful. They keep us able to do what we're doing. And so if you'd like to donate, there are so many ways to do it, and they're all there on the screen, and we appreciate all of them, so thank you. One of the ways that we connect with each other. And, Nell Owens has told me this a couple of times, that as she hosts the Zoom meeting after our gathering, she often uses our intentions words as a way to close the meeting. And she says, that really connects us with what you're doing there in the room, and it really connects everyone to each other that's on that Zoom call. And I have a feeling that it does the same for us in person as well. When we can speak words that kind of help us frame what we'd like to go into this day and into our week thinking about and figuring out for ourselves. It's really a beautiful thing that we can do that together. So in that spirit, we are going to strengthen our intentions together with the words that we find before us, and we'll speak those in one voice, whether we are here or elsewhere. Even though we are a community of individuals, we still feel a deep, abiding sense of oneness. That connection helps us to see each other as diverse and beautiful, as people who can challenge and strengthen each other. As we embrace our journeys toward wholeness, let's look beyond the surface toward the deep wisdom we share and the immense strength we embody. We remember that our connection to all things will make itself known in each act of compassion and justice, and in each work of love we express. May we be open to seeing with new eyes, inviting wisdom and awareness into every day, so that it soaks into and through all our living. Let it be so for us. And so it is that we take this light with us. We take the light of community, the light of wisdom, the light of love, and we let it shine in our lives as we move into our day. And so we go.